Jurgen Klopp very shortly. First, though, to the first silverware of the season decided at Wembley yesterday in the EFL Cup. But Gary Neville, you were there. Did the best side win?
No, I think the team that played best didn't win. But if you'd have said to me before the game, how are Manchester United going to win this game, I probably would have said it would have been like they did, where they'll have the big moments, they'll just do enough to get over the line. I'm not quite sure Southampton had enough in them to be able to deal with potentially the power of Zlatan, and being free in the middle of the 6-yard box in the last 5 minutes is a massive issue. But there's no doubt Southampton played a great game in terms of tactically, the way they played, but the moments were what cost them. And United, I always felt, would have the moments in the game and do enough to get over the line, and they won in the way in which I think they were always going to win. With the programme they've had recently, the amount of games they've had, that Southampton were fresh, they had 14 days perfect preparation. It was probably always going to be that type of game.
So what really impressed you about Southampton?
Well, there were three things really. I think I mentioned in the game, and the first thing I'm going to show you is the crosses. I've not seen a team in the Premier League, or say Premier League, a Premier League team, put as good a crosses into the box from set pieces and from open play. They got to the byline so many times, and it generally came from Bertrand and Cedric in terms of the energy. This is Tadic crossing it there. But the interesting thing was that every time they crossed it from the left, the opposite fullback was up with play. And it caused nightmares for Marcel and Mata in the first half, in particular for Rojo and Valencia. They were so energetic, those two fullbacks, and they set the tempo for the whole game. And they were always backing up play, they were always a threat. And United found it hard to live with them from a point of view of the crosses, the positions they got into, the runs they made. This is the second you see, he picks up the ball on the far side, gets played down the channel. This is an unbelievable run from Bertrand. The speed to go around Bayou's quick, plays it across the box. Yeah, this is the disallowed goal. Cedric, again, backing up play from the opposite side, both in such aggressive positions. Rojo makes a bit of a mess of it. I'm thinking here, penalty if he goes down. And Bertrand's nearly in, Gabbiadini goal. We know the story behind it. It's an onside goal, and Southampton were unlucky. But the first problem for United was in wide areas. It caused them a huge problem and forced one of the substitutions at half-time from Jose Mourinho. They had big problems dealing with Cedric and with Bertrand in wide areas, and he played a fantastic game in terms of setting that up, Claude Puel.
What about in the middle of the pitch?
Well, the other problem United had was in behind Pogba and Herrera. Tadic, Ward-Prowse, Redmond getting into positions where what I call the box, which is that area between, your centre-backs, your midfield and your centre-backs. It was wrong. It was too big. They didn't have the right sort of, if you like, pivot between them both. There was always space for Southampton to get into. Romeu played a good game. Davies played well, and they always seemed to get in between spaces. And they had a problem with that, United. Herrera was trying to cover the spaces. Pogba was a little bit ill-disciplined, and it caused them a big problem in the game, Manchester United. And again, it forced Jose Mourinho to change at half-time. Just see there, again, too detached, these two centre-backs, too big a gap between the centre-backs and the central midfield players. And it was the second big problem in the match for Manchester United, and it led in respect to the goal. You see this one plays out. United are panicking, scrambling back at the edge of the box, really being put under massive pressure. This is 2-1. This is them getting back into the game, Southampton. And again, you never want to see that. Your two central midfield players like that in that sort of position. Herrera's got no chance there. He's got a player there. He's got a player running behind him this way. He doesn't know whether to stick or twist. Pogba's left him again. And this leads to the goal where they get into a situation where they're behind United's midfield, and then they get into those wide areas. And Gabbiadini, who I think is the third issue for United, his movement in the box was absolutely sensational. Very rarely have I seen a striker make as many movements across the near post in a match, and as many crosses go across that near post. And Bayern Smalling had a real difficult job to be able to stay with those runs, because they are the most difficult runs to stay with. And he was a feature. So the crossing, the spacing behind Herrera and Pogba, and the runs across the near post were the feature. We have to mention Gabbiadini and finishing on him.
He's raised the bar for Southampton.
I have to say that we always like to compare players and find out who they remind of. He reminds me so much of Filippo Inzaghi, a player that used to play for Juventus, AC Milan, played for Italy. His movement in and around the box, his sharpness, his predatory instincts. And this goal, there are only a few players that you would think of that could score this goal. Again, set-piece deliveries, incredible. Keeping United under pressure, backing up at the edge of the box. But as that comes out of the air there, that is such a special goal. What an impact he's had. I think he scored 5 goals in his first 3 appearances, and I think it's worth seeing another angle. So, from a Southampton point of view, the performance was fantastic. but they didn't get the result. And I say this goal was absolutely magnificent. Brilliant performance. They couldn't have played any better in the game, but those moments of focus, concentration, and, if you like, unforced errors or errors that they've made have really cost them in the end.
2 goals then for Gabbiadini. We know that he should have had 3, but it was another striker who really won the match for Manchester United. How did he do it, Jamie?
Well, the first one, the free kick, and you think about big moments, big players and big games. This probably final maybe sums up his career, really. He's won bigger trophies than this, but again, he's the man we're all talking about after the game. And when I saw the free kick, I don't think it's the best free kick I've ever seen in the world. And as soon as I saw it, sometimes you look at something, a goal goes in, you think, OK, the keeper hasn't dropped it, hasn't gone through his legs, but this just doesn't look right. It shouldn't go in where it goes in. And we've built a freeze in now, and you may not see it through the legs of the wall, but Ibrahimovic is now striking the ball. Look at the goalkeeper, the way he's standing. That, to me, doesn't look ready as someone's hitting the ball. I mean, we spoke on this show before at times about keepers bouncing, and we've criticised, in fact, with bouncing too, and then they're in the air as the balls. But you've got to look as if, for me anyway, you're on your toes, you're ready. And he just doesn't. When I just roll it on at 50% speed, so you see him move his legs there now. Now he tries to get across with this right foot, and he just moves too slowly. So that ball is probably 3 or 4 yards away from going in, and he still hasn't fully pushed off his right foot, which is the foot he's got to get across, to give him, you know, the leverage to get across there. I just want to, as it goes past his hand now, there, as it's going past him, as he's jumped from his right foot there, he's virtually not even off the floor. We're talking about a goalkeeper who's 6'7". He's at full stretch there, you see him. The full 6'7" of him. And let's not forget, this ball isn't going in off the post. It's going in almost a metre inside the post. And a keeper of that size still hasn't got there. I think that just shows his footwork, his movement. It just wasn't good enough, and it didn't look right going in. But that man gets his goal, gets them up and running. But I want to look at the second goal and his involvement in it from start to finish. And it starts not with the counter-attack, it starts with the first corner. I'll just highlight his position now. And also what I should mention is, he had the least amount of touches on the pitch than anyone who played 90 minutes. But he had the biggest impact. And it starts now. His role here, he was very dangerous from set pieces all afternoon with Ward-Prowse and Tadic. I think De Gea would have saved that, would he parry it down to a Southampton player. There was one thing I noticed. Boufal was taking the corner. It wasn't Tadic or Prowse who'd always missed the first man. This is the first one you see. Doesn't quite get the same delivery. But who's the man there? Responsibility in that box. You think of the problems it caused crosses. You think of Romeo hitting the post when he was up against Smalling. But again, who's there? The counter-attack. And I think what his brilliance is and shows his experience here, he knows he hasn't got the pace to do that. Rashford, Martial, they're going straight in a goal. And maybe players with less experience but didn't have that pace to think, oh, see the glory. No. He knows he hasn't got the pace. Slow the game down. Wait for help. That's the experience and class of the player. But I just want to show him now. He's just passed the ball and he's walking. So it wasn't great movement from him. As we'll see him again, he passes it on again. Now, when I first saw it, I thought, OK, when you get counter-attacked, I'm a centre-back, players who go up, you run back into position, you're all over the place. They don't end up too bad. You see Ward-Prowse there, maybe filling in at right back. But then you've got your 2 centre-backs. And there's your left-back. Now, the right-back's at the back post, but that's not the worst position I've seen a back 4 in when defending a counter-attack. The big problem is, and what I should say is, between these players, the spaces are good. There's not massive spaces between them. But Jack Stevens, who I think was excellent on the day, was excellent at Liverpool, just panics and fears that Martial is going to wriggle free and get a free shot on the edge of the box, and he steps out. And you see him there, he steps out. Now, all of a sudden, you look at the space between Yoshida and Bertrand. But don't forget, Zlatan's still here. He's not standing in that position. Now, you could argue, could Bertrand have stayed, should have stayed with him? Maybe he doesn't realise Jack Stevens has stepped so far out. But it's a fantastic delivery, but you just see that space now. As soon as someone steps out of a back four, you've either got to narrow in or get back quick. And if he doesn't, they don't do either. And the Zlatan Cup final, that's what it'll be known as on this day. Rightly so, we got all applauded after it. And for a man who cost nothing, he's now proven his weight in gold, really, with his performances for Manchester United.
He is a serial winner, isn't he? Wherever he goes, he wins trophies. Backed up by this. 21 in all, 13 of these league titles, the first of what United hope will be many. And he said himself yesterday, there's another 3 to play for in this very season. Look at his contribution since signing for Manchester United. More appearances, more game time than any other player, more goals, 26 in all competitions, and 77 chances created as well. Did you expect, Jamie, that kind of contribution from him? At 35, let's not forget.
No. I think it's unbelievable what we're watching. I think Zlatan Ibrahimovic, throughout his career, I played against him in Champions League football, and I think there was always a feeling in England that maybe he was a flat-track bully, or he'd done it in leagues that the Italian league, he won the league every year for 5 or 6 years. And in Champions League games against, I'm not sure if you come up against, we did 2 or 3 times, other English teams, it never quite happened for him. But to think after 30 years of age, this fella's got over 200 goals. And what he's doing now, remember another centre-forward who came to England, maybe even not that old, think of Shevchenko. He was the best striker in the world at one stage. Just find it too difficult. I'm thinking, will he be able to cope with the demands? He told us he would, and he's proved us completely correct. Now, for him to be carrying one of the biggest clubs in the world, Manchester United, at his age, in the most difficult position, really, on a field, I just think we're watching something special. And you only wish, not on a Manchester United shirt, I should add, that we'd probably had him in the Premier League maybe 10 years ago.
Interesting phrase Jamie uses there, carrying Manchester United at the age of 35. Is there a danger here that United are becoming too reliant on Zlatan?
Well, you see his games there. I think he has to play every game at the moment, because I think that, look, obviously players contribute, but I've seen it over the years at United. United need players that have huge personality and character. You think of, say, Brian Robson or Roy Keane or Cristiano Ronaldo, or even Wayne Rooney, from 3 or 4 years ago when he was playing every single week. And you do look at Pogba, who's, I don't think, is playing particularly well. He didn't play well yesterday, who has got a big personality. And I think of Ibrahimovic, I think of Rooney leaving potentially in the next 18 months, and you think there is a huge void there to fill. Ibrahimovic is definitely carrying them at the moment. I reckon that when you stand in the other players will look at him in the tunnel, the players in his own team, and they'll just feel confident, more confident by him being there. And over the last 3 years, I think United have lacked personality and character. I think in him, they have someone who believes and does everything he says he's going to do. And I think there is a huge job that Jose Mourinho will be thinking about already, about how does he think. He probably wants another year out of him as a minimum, but he needs to win a league at Manchester United. How is he going to even think to win a league? Can Zlatan play every single week? He needs to look at how he can replace that personality and character at some point in the next 18 months, because he's unbelievable what he's doing at that club at the moment.
Manchester United EFL Cup winners yesterday. Liverpool tonight have the chance to go third in the Premier League. They're at Leicester City. Let's hear from Jurgen Klopp now with Jeff.